Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lafayette Parish School Board regular board meeting of January 6, 2021. We will open tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I will ask Mr. Latchley to please lead us in the pledge, followed by a moment of silent meditation. Thank you. On December 21st and 22nd, our district went to a full virtual model of teaching and learning. Staff felt that it was important to rehearse our virtual learning model to identify and address any potential problems. I am pleased to report that the 2 days of virtual instruction were successful, and we have received positive feedback from various stakeholders with minimal issues reported. Student attendance and participation were above average, and instruction included recorded lessons, assignments in Google Classroom, office hours, and approximately 11,000 live Zoom lessons. The collective efforts of our district and school staff, students, parents, and particularly our great educators resulted in our virtual learning rehearsal being a success. The students and staff of Middlebrook Elementary have moved into their new 24 classroom wing addition. Out of the 9 original wing expansion projects the board began planning in 2016, only one school, Edgar Martin Middle School, is under construction and should be completed by December of this year. Our external audit has been completed, and the comprehensive annual financial report has been issued for fiscal year ending on 6/30/2020. I am pleased to state that the results of the audit are very positive, as there are no new audit findings from the previous year's audit. We had only one repeat audit finding, down from 4 findings in fiscal year 2019. The successful implementation by administration and staff in fiscal year 2020 of corrective action plans resulted in positive progress toward a full resolution. Recently, the district announced the 21-22 Principal of the Year for elementary, middle, and high schools. The following school leaders were selected. Our elementary school Principal of the Year is Ms. Ginger Richard, Principal of Green Tea Elementary School. Our middle school Principal of the Year, Ms. Jeannie Hebert, Principal of Acadian Middle School. And our high school Principal of the Year is Ms. Renee White, Principal of Ove Como High School. This is a high honor for these recipients as well, and their well-deserved selection is based off of peer nominations. Congratulations and good luck to each of our Principal of the Year as they move on to state competition. 2 of our high school football teams are 2020 state football champions. The Acadiana Rams defeated Alexandria Senior High School 35-34, becoming the Class 5A state champions and winning back-to-back state championships. This is Acadiana's 8th championship game appearance and their 6th state title. The Karen Crow Bears defeated Edna Carr 35-19, becoming the Class 4A state champions. The Karen Crow Bears brought home the state championship title and trophy for the first time since 1992. Congratulations to both teams, their coaches, school staff, and school communities. Finally, January is School Board Member Recognition Month, and on behalf of the Lafayette Parish School System community, I would like to say thank you, board members, for your dedicated service to our school system. The work you do is vital to the success of our district. Thank you. This concludes my comments, and at this time I will open the floor for nominations for this year's school board president. Mr. Latchley.
Mr. Superintendent, I'd like to nominate Ms. Mary Morrison to be board president for the 2021 year.
Is there a second to this nomination? Mr. Angel? Motion by Mr. Latchley, seconded by Mr. Angel, that the board elect Ms. Mary Morrison as board president for 2021 by acclamation. Congratulations, Ms. Morrison.
First of all, I would like to thank my fellow board members for this opportunity. I am very excited, and quite a long time together, and we've done a whole lot. Several of you, we served together 6 years now, and we have three other new board members, and we've done so much, and I know we're going to continue doing a great job working with our superintendent and our central office staff. They just work really, really well. So I'm excited about this opportunity. So thank you again. Okay, before we go, we want to go ahead and get nominations for our vice president. So right now I'll open the floor for our vice president.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Tommy Angel to serve as Vice President for the 2021 year.
Okay, we have a nomination by Mr. Latchley and a second by Mr. Centeni. All in favor, say aye. Okay, congratulations.
Ms. Morrison, if I may, I'd like at this time to present Mr. Latchley with a token of appreciation for his time served as our board president for 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Latchley, for your service.
Okay, before we go to our next agenda item, we'd like to recognize our football teams first. So first, we'll go with Acadiana High, and you heard all their accomplishments. So we would like to go ahead and call Mr. Lejeune. Would you come up and Mr. Latchley? Oh. Okay.
Hang on, let me get to the item. I'd like to make a motion that the board approves resolution 01-21-1995 declaring January 10th, 2021 as Acadiana Wrecking Ram Football Day.
Second.
Second.
Mary, read which item you're taking up right now.
Okay, let's see which one it is.
4.4.
Okay, 4.4. And there's another one. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, 4.4, discussion and or action concerning resolution 0121-1995, Acadiana Wrecking Rams Football Day, Jeffers, Lachele, Morrison. And Karen Crow is...
Yeah, we're good. I'm going to go ahead and read the resolution. Resolution 01-21-1995. Whereas head coach Matt McCullough, assistant coaches Kyle Sealbo, Jordan Romero, Clay Corche, Kevin Bellard, Alonzo Williams, Ryan Tabb, Trace Sutton, Kent Gable, Ronald Gunner, Jimmy Hemsel, Cade Dawes, Drew Bergeron, George Harris, Justin Ligian, Mitchell Vadrine, and athletic trainer Brent Boudreau have contributed their time, effort, and knowledge and continue to be one of the most widely respected programs throughout the Acadiana area and state of Louisiana. And whereas the Acadiana Wrecking Rams played only one regular season game at home and traveled for the other 6 regular season games, including 3 games that were not originally scheduled as fill-ins due to hurricane and COVID-19 cancellations. The Wrecking Rams were a perfect 4-0 at Ted Davidson Field at Bill Dotson Stadium during the playoffs en route to winning the 2020 Class 5A state championship at Northwestern State University. And whereas the coaching staff taught the importance of teamwork, perseverance, self-discipline, determination, and integrity under the leadership of head coach Matt McCullough and his staff, who have gone 37-3 in the last 3 seasons with 3 district titles and 2 state titles. And whereas the team defeated Covington 44-7, East Ascension 42-14, Mandeville 21-0, Destrehan 23-0, and Alexandria 35-34 in the state championship game, while averaging 31.8 points and allowing only 11.2 points per game during their back-to-back championship run. And whereas the 2020 state champions victory continued a tremendous 16-year run for the Wrecking Ram football program that would see them appear in 8 state final games while winning 6 championships during this stretch, making them one of the most dominant programs in Louisiana over the past decade and a half. And whereas the Veer machine continued to impose its will on opposing defenses while rushing for 3,486 yards and scoring 381 points on the season for a 31.8 points per game average over 12 games in a shortened season. The Terrible Turks ravaged opposing offenses, allowing 11.2 points per game and only 168.3 yards per game, including shutout performances in both the quarterfinals and semifinals. And therefore, be it resolved, the Lafayette Parish School Board hereby expresses its congratulations and appreciation to the coaches and players of Acadiana High for their accomplishments. And be it finally resolved, the Lafayette Parish School Board declares January 10th, 2021 as Acadiana Wrecking Ram Football Day.
All right.
That's probably Coach Jeffers and Mr. Lejeune and Ms. McGuire. But hey, Dr. Chasson, I will let you know I did do that in my voice, to the Rams voice. Especially Superintendent gets, most announcers will tell you the score was 24-0. I say nothing. Nothing. Now, do we vote before we let him talk?
Yes. Want me to go ahead and get a vote for it? Any public comments? Not hearing any?
Yeah, call it Mr. Lejeune.
And Ms. Lejeune, you come up and speak.
Hi, Britt. Acadiana High Education did you well. I didn't know you had that kind of vocabulary in you. I'd like to, of course, start by congratulating the Karen Crow Bears. Outstanding season, great accomplishment for Lafayette Parish to have 2 teams. So, guys, congratulations. All right. And I'd also like to thank, there's a bunch of people that make this possible for us. It's not an easy It's never easy to win one. It's definitely not easy to win two. But there's a lot of people in here that contributed to our success. Ms. Trosclair and her staff, it's great to have your support. We appreciate it when we have issues, and we had a few this year. It's great to be able to come here and get help from y'all to solve our problems, so thank y'all very much. I'd like to thank the school board itself. Our facilities at Acadiana and the other schools in the parish are becoming really nice, so thank y'all for providing the money to take it, to put the new track, to put our new press box, and to do other improvements that we've done. It really looks nice at school right now when teams drive up at the improvements. So thank y'all very much for all y'all have done for us in the last couple of years. I'd like to congratulate Coach McCullough and his coaching staff. I think that we have one of the best coaching staffs in the state of Louisiana. When we get off the bus, we might not be the most or the best looking team. We might not be the biggest or the fastest team when we get off the bus, but because of our coaches, we're always the most prepared team, and they always give our kids an opportunity to be successful. So, Coach, congratulations, and I'll let the other coaches know that also. All right, and of course, I'd like to congratulate the kids. They're not able to be here today because of the COVID restrictions, but they work super hard. They're super talented, of course, but people think they win on Friday night. If you come to Acadiana High, you would see when our football team wins. They win from February, when they start next year's off season, to June is when they win the majority of the games. They work extremely hard in the weight room and in the classroom. They represent the school system, they represent their community, and they represent their families very well. And I'm super proud to stand on our sideline every Friday night and watch the product that these kids work for each and every night. So thank y'all again, and go Rams.
Okay, our next item is item.
I'm going to kind of say the same thing Mr. Lejeune did. You know, this year probably was the most trying year of any year I've been associated with coaching, and without the help of Coach Jeffers, without the help of Mr. Lejeune, without the help of Ms. Trosclair and the school board, I don't think we could have got through it. You know, our kids are pretty tough, but I tell you what, from a coaching standpoint, there was a lot of different things that we had to deal with, and we got tremendous help from the school board, from Ms. Trosclair, from Coach Jeffers, and our administration. So, the reward was worth it, and we appreciate all that help, and we thank you for honoring our team and our coaching staff tonight. So thank y'all, and we appreciate it.
Mr. Lachele.
Thank you, Madam President. As y'all probably know, it's my pleasure and my privilege to represent Acadiana High. I believe in our Rams, and you accomplish these things. I'm always going to be an advocate or a believer that extracurricular activities can enhance education. Our football players are student athletes. They're students first at Acadiana. Don't sit back and think that it's a football factory. We're a very high B school. I think it starts with our administration and our principal. The attitude and what he brings to the school, the success he wants. Everyone at Acadiana is students first. Coach McCullough, who grew up in the system, his father was our baseball coach and a coach for 30-something years. He was our quarterback. This is his team. This team resembles Matt McCullough. It has his fight, his grit, and his drive, and it's a pleasure to be involved, not only as a board member, but they allow me on Friday nights to be the voice of the Rams. And there's only one, and it happens to be me, and that's a great privilege and a great honor. You make the community proud. You make everyone that ever went to Acadiana proud. We appreciate all y'all do. We know the year you had. It was worth it. Last Wednesday night, it was a tight one, 35-34, but I think that score, and if you watch it, it'll be on Cox Sunday at noon is the replay. If you watch it, you'll see where Acadiana never gave up. Acadiana kept fighting. And if I could, with Mr. Angel, I also want to congratulate Karen Crow because, you know, for 51 weeks of the year, I don't mind representing every school in Lafayette Parish, but there's 1 week of the year, it's just Acadiana. And Mr. Angel, that week is going to be week 1 of next football season when 2 state champions collide. I think at Bill Dotson. So if you don't mind, we could make a friendly wager of, and you know how I'm gonna say it. When the Rams win, we can eat in Scott, and if by chance Karen Crow happens to win, how about we have a meal in Karen Crow?
Well, that's perfectly fine, sir. But remember that Karen Crow is a 4A, and we playing a 5A. You gonna give us some points?
No, no. But I think it'll be fun. I'm going to invite everybody right now to go to that game because you're going to see 2 powerhouses collide, and we've been colliding for years, and it's always a ball game, and there's no given or no definite who's going to win on any given Friday night. I mean, Karen Crow proved that about 5 years ago with a last-second pass right at the end of the game. So I'm expecting a good game, and it'll be a great thing to see 2 champions collide. Unfortunately, only one will come out on top, but I think both programs are winners in the end. But congratulations.
We'll go ahead and vote. Yeah.
Oh, we forgot one thing. Once a Ram, always a Ram.
Okay. Okay, our next item is item 4.3, discussion and/or action concerning Resolution 01211996, Karen Crow High Golden Bears Football Day. Jeffers, Angel, Broussard. I'd like to get a motion to approve. Mr. Angel, and seconded by Mr. Broussard. Okay, do we have any comments, public comments? Ms. Mary Quardon, would you like to speak? Come up.
we just want to say thank you very much. Mr. Angel, we appreciate all your support. We love the new track. We like all the things that we're doing. I just want to say about these young men that they fight hard. They don't let adversity get in their way. And we're taking that as a whole school, and we're taking some of Coach's words, and we're going to chop wood at the grades and the test scores, and we just really appreciate all the support.
I too would like to thank y'all. It's been a wonderful year. I'm very blessed to have some wonderful young men to coach, high character, some great coaches to work with, great administration, and y'all. We couldn't do it without y'all, and I truly appreciate that. We're not as dignified as they are yet, but we're going to try to catch up with them. Thank you all very much.
Mr. Angel?
Yes, if I could read the resolution 1-21-1996. I don't understand why this resolution isn't 1/21/2021, but it's 96. Whereas head coach Tony Corville and assistant coaches Gavin Peters, Michael Corville, I think there's some relationship to the coach too, Joey Dwyer, Derek Franchak, Ben Gonzalez, Marky Lewis, Tim Miguez, among support staff and administration, led a resurgence in Carencro football to the highest level. And whereas the 2020 Carencro Golden Bears etched their names eternally as state champions, claiming their spot as one, if not the best team to compete in the conference in the open-air Crow Dome, finishing the season at 12-1 in the best team Class 4A, while joining the 1992 team as the only other team to do so in school history and making the program's 4th overall appearance in the championship game, 1992, 1996, 2011, as well as, of course, this year, 2020. And I may point out that 1992 was the first year any school in Lafayette Parish ever won the championship. Carencro was the first one to ever win. Whereas the team defeated DeRidder 42-7, Plaquemine 81-14, Neville 49-7, and dominated reigning 4-time state champions Edna Carr 35-19 in the state championship game, while averaging 51.7 points and allowing only 11.7 points per game during their historic playoff run. And whereas the 2020 state championship season unfolded week to week as a book does from chapter to chapter, creating a special story that was perfectly written and will be told for quite some time, all made possible by a bond from player to player, coach to coach, coach to player, and a commitment to protect the team. And whereas the Golden Bears set a record of 81 points in a single game, scoring 498 points on the season for a 41.5 point per game average, and established a relentless rushing attack, amassing 3,632 yards, while the stifling defense wreaked havoc on opposing offenses, allowing only 13.1 points per game, including a week one shutout of West Monroe, solidifying the belief that a special season was possible, while the foundation and process to success had been laid out long before the first game. And therefore be it resolved that the Lafayette Parish School Board hereby express its congratulations and appreciation to the coaches and players of Carencro High School for their accomplishments, and be it finally resolved that the Lafayette Parish School Board declare January 8th, 2021 as Carencro Bear Football Day. Go Bears.
At this time.
I might point out, 1 minute, I might just point out that I am a proud graduate of Karen Crow, 1964, as is my wife, and we were the only graduating seniors that were married. And that was in 1966. So, go Bears.
Mr. Angel, I was talking with Matt McCullough and David Lejeune in the back, and I noticed when you emphasized Karen Crow winning the first ever state title, you seem to have glanced this way. I acknowledge that, sir. Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, Karen Crow beat Acadiana that year 21-7.
I would like to mention, well, okay, I'll wait till this. I'll give the floor to the gentleman.
Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and entertain a vote at this time. Oh, Mr. Bruce.
Before you entertain a vote, I would like to point out that all my kids graduated from Acadiana High, but I'm one of the representatives from Karen Crow High, and I felt left out, as should Mary be, that the two gentlemen is planning a victory meal, and it does not include the two of us. So I'm not going to take that at heart, but if Acadiana beats Karen Crow, then Mr. Lachele is going to pay for 4 meals. If Karen Crow beats Acadiana, Mr. Angel is going to pay for 4 meals. So either way, Ms. Morrison will win.
I like that.
For
You know
not
That's
noticing us as co-authors of that resolution.
Exactly, exactly.
I will apologize for that. And you know what? I guess I'll be buying 4 meals week 1.
Okay, we'll go take a
and
vote.
Can I request in the future, Ms. President, that we have Nick Jeffers write our press releases for a lot of things moving forward, because I have to say those were beautifully written and wonderful tales and recapturing. So we appreciate the way that you were able to lay out the season for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LeBlue. Are you ready to take the vote at this time? Mr. Angel,
No,
you want
after the vote.
after? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Mr. Angel?
I wanted to take a minute. You know, we enjoy kidding each other, all of us, about our high schools. We're very close and proud of our high schools. I want to make mention tonight of Lafayette High School. Lafayette High School didn't win very many games in the last couple of 3 years, but they did very, very well this year. As I appreciate it, they actually went to the playoffs this year after having and won and coming from a couple of seasons that were not so successful. So I just want to congratulate Lafayette High School for the hard work and all the coaches and the principal and all the work that they did to do what they did and performed how they, as well as they did in this past season. So congratulations also to Lafayette High School.
Also, with that said, I just want to recognize LCA and STM. They were champions as well. So just wanted to recognize them because they're in our area as well. So thank you. Okay, so our next item, 2.1, discussion and or action concerning pending litigation in the matter of Shirlene Harris versus Lafayette Parish School Board, American Alternative Insurance Company, and Cleopas Xeno, docket number 2019-4218, Division D, 15th Judicial Court, Parish of Lafayette. I'd like to entertain a motion, go into executive session.
Madam President, I move that the board enter into executive session to discuss pending litigation in the matter of Shirlene Harris versus the Lafayette Parish School Board, American Alternative Insurance Company, and Cleopas Xeno, docket number 2019-4218, Division D, 15th JDC, Parish of Lafayette.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Centeni and a second by Mr. Lachele. So we'll adjourn just for a few minutes. Oh, we'll go ahead and take the vote before we adjourn. Voice? It's up? Oh. No, she said it's up. Okay, we'll go into section.
Oh, yeah, that's the right key should okay. Take you to the next slide.
This key right here.
Yeah, and when you get to the last one, you'll finish your speech. We'll all get it. That's done, and I'll come back up here. That's all you gotta do. And you'll give me my device. My thumb drive. Let's do that right now. Is it gonna operate without the? Yeah, it's on the desktop. Oh, you put it on the desktop. Okay. It's right in the middle. I'll open it for you. Okay. All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Motion carries.
Madam President, I move that the board accept the advice of counsel in the matter of Shirlene Harris versus Lafayette Parish School Board, American Alternative Insurance Company, and Cleopas, Xeno.
Okay, have a motion by Mrs. Centeni and a second by Mr. Lachele. Any public comment? Any board comment? At this time, I'll call for the vote.
Eight for, one absent.
Okay, motion's approved. Now we'll move over to our information items. Item 3.1, academics, LUPES, ACE, adverse childhood experience, Touchette, and Rabelais.
Thank you, President Morrison. Good evening, all. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. John Newman, President of the Lafayette Public Education Stakeholders Council, also known as LUPES, a consortium of 16 local organizations committed to public education. He is joined today with Dr. Paula Xeno, a professor and director of research at the PCARD Center, and Gemma Cedillo from LPAE to discuss some of the adverse childhood experiences our children may face and some ongoing initiatives to combat this trauma. Mr. Newman?
There we go. Try it again. All right, take two. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be able to present to you tonight. School board and administration, Ms. Strauss-Claire, thank you for all you do to educate our children. LUPES's main purpose is actually to reduce the achievement gap in Lafayette Parish. So we share a common objective with LPSS. Well, what exactly is the achievement gap? When we're talking about the achievement gap, what are we talking about? If we look at this slide, we can see school performance of fourth graders nationally on standardized math tests. And as you can see, the orange line represents middle-class students, students from middle-class households. And then the blue line represents low-income students. And as you can see, over the years, middle-income students have consistently outperformed low-income students. That gap is the achievement gap. So there's a couple of things there's a couple of implications for this. First of all, the achievement gap, even though LUPES is focused on the achievement gap in Lafayette and LPSS is focused on the achievement gap in Lafayette, the achievement gap isn't unique to Lafayette. This is a national thing. And it's something across the country everybody's dealing with. The other implication is that if you look at that gap over the last 20 years, it hasn't gotten narrower. It's stayed pretty wide that whole time. It's been a stubborn gap. Now, that doesn't mean that it's okay. That doesn't mean we can ignore it. But it does mean that it's a difficult thing to overcome, and there won't be any simple solutions. If there was a simple solution, we'd already be there. So what causes the achievement gap? Well, the very implication that there's a correlation between income and school performance on standardized tests tell you that there are some out-of-school factors that impinge on children's performance in school. Here, with the achievement gap, income has some correlation with how a child's going to do at school. Well, what are those factors? Well, there's a growing body of research over the last 25 years that indicates one of those factors, a big factor. There's many factors, and like I said, this is complicated. But one of those factors is an issue called toxic stress in children. And this toxic stress has got a name. It's called Adverse Childhood Experiences, or ACEs for short. And what ACEs do is they impact a child's behavior. If you see a kid can't sit still, there's a good chance that he doesn't have ADHD. There might be a chance they have ACEs. It impacts behavior, it impacts brain development, hence academic achievement, and later in life, it actually impacts health. Lepesque believes that by proper mitigation, we can actually help these kids not only succeed in school, but thrive in all of life. And Lepesque has adopted a policy paper on ACEs. I've left that with you. It explains a little bit more about ACEs and what some possible remedies are. But I'm here tonight primarily to give accolades and praise for what the administration has already done in dealing with this issue. I know that Superintendent Trosclair and Mr. Touchette have helped us to set up a trauma team that is looking at policies and best practices and working with precious kids who are dealing with toxic stress and don't know how to handle that. So great accolades to what you're already doing, and from what I'm hearing from the teachers, they're utilizing this and it's already making an impact. But as I conclude, I want to say that Lepesque is a community organization of organizations. And we believe that ACEs is not a public school problem. It's a community issue. And the Lepesque organizations, we want to do all we can to help these children and help their families. And we want to help and partner with you in any way we can, and you deem is advisable to help you to assist these precious children to succeed in school and to reach their full potential. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'm Paula Xeno with the P-Card Center and the College of Nursing at UL Lafayette. And I'm honored to be here to speak with you. This is my first time ever at a school board meeting, so this is kind of an interesting experience for me, and I appreciate being here. So the idea that children experience adversity is not new news. We all know this, right? And so the question is, why are we so concerned about this now? And so I need to go down. Okay. As John mentioned, the idea about how adversity affects us as human beings got a tremendous momentum through the study that was done by the CDC and Kaiser Permanente Health out in California more than 20 years ago. So it's an old study, but the momentum that it has caused has been tremendous, and it's come to Louisiana and it's come here. Basically what they did was they asked 17,000 adults, these are 19-year-olds to 90-something-year-olds, about a whole variety of adverse experiences in childhood. And then they wanted to relate those experiences to later adult health. Now, bear with me for a second. My background is nursing and psychology, so education is, although it's familiar, it's not my usual institution. But they were interested in the health consequences. And they found that, now this is San Diego, this is not poor Louisiana, this is not minority people, these are basically well-educated people who had decent health insurance and all that sort of stuff. And what they found was that when they looked at the numbers of the kinds of adversities that people experienced during childhood, meaning before age 18, they found that, if you look on your slide here, that there were sort of these general categories of what they called adversity or adverse childhood experiences. They fell into three categories. One was abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse. Neglect, physical and emotional neglect, and then something they called household dysfunction, and that included growing up in a household where the parents got divorced or separated, growing up in a household where one of the caregivers had a mental illness like depression or something, growing up in a household where someone had been incarcerated, and or growing up in a household where someone was a substance abuser, including alcoholism, or growing up and witnessing household violence, especially violence towards the mother. So those were what sort of the 10 categories that they defined. And what they found was that only about a third of those people in San Diego 20 years ago had not experienced any of these things. So these things were common. These are things that all of us in this room, many of us anyway, have probably experienced. What was important was that the more of those adversities a child experienced growing up, the more likely they were to have a whole variety of social and health risk behaviors as adults. As a psychologist and as a nurse, the idea of adversity in childhood wasn't surprising, but the fact that it could affect health things like heart disease, like diabetes, like asthma, like juvenile arthritis, like you name it, was associated with an increasing number of adversities. And so if you look at what John was mentioning, we haven't moved the dial very much in the education gap. Louisiana's had a hard time moving the dial and improving our health outcomes in general for the state. We're always 49th and 50th. And I think we're always low in education in general as well. We had a really hard time moving the dial. I believe that if we could look at how do we get in earlier, we might be able to move the dial more effectively, because adverse childhood experiences are related to some of our top causes of death: premature death, cardiovascular disease, sexually transmitted infections, premature deaths, and so forth. And so the idea of chronic stressors, and by that, and John talked about toxic stress, and by that what we really mean is accumulation of stressors or adversities where there's unremitting relief. We all experience stress, but if there's nobody there to help us through, to buffer us through, to protect us, then that's what constitutes toxic stress. And we know now from lots and lots and lots and lots of research that this toxic stress, these experiences get under our skin biologically. They affect the developing brain even prenatally. They affect the body's stress response system. They develop even some underlying genetics. So this is a huge undertaking, right? And the underlying neurobiological impacts of toxic stress are what are associated with these short and long-term behavioral health and learning effects of ACEs. So why should you guys be concerned about this? Why should this be an issue for you? I want to just give a few examples of, there's a gigantic literature on this, but a few examples of the kinds of things that even you don't have to wait until you're 50 or 60 to have the adverse experiences show up in your health and your well-being. There are studies that show children as young as 18 to 72 months who experience 3 or more of these ACEs are more likely to have chronic medical conditions or behavioral or developmental problems or socialization problems that, of course, lay the groundwork for their later capabilities. 5-year-olds, our kindergartners, struggle with literacy and math skills and attention and social problems and more aggression. Just what John was saying, they may look like they're ADHD, but maybe there's something else going on. Elementary students, over and over again, have more behavior problems, remain below grade level, they miss school more often, they have more health problems, all that sort of stuff that happens. And even in adolescence, more likely to repeat a grade, again, have more learning and behavioral issues, high risk of suicidal ideation and behavior, hugely associated with that. Early sexual activity, even teenage pregnancy, not to mention early substance abuse and that sort of thing. So I think these really are important, and I think, ACEs have been called a hidden burden on health, but they're also really, I think, a hidden burden on learning and positive educational outcomes. And so I want to again echo what John said and congratulate you all for beginning to take some steps on beginning to address this in your school system. I'm really happy about that. And again, LaPask has taken this as making it a top priority for their organization, and supporting the policies and practices that can provide a buffer. Schools can provide a buffer, you know, for these kinds of things for kids. It's sometimes the only good place they have to be. And it's not just those kids, it's us too. It's our teachers, our faculty, our staff. How we react to these kids in the classroom is in part on our own stress response system and our own experiences and so forth. So we have to look at it in a very holistic way. I also just want to mention, as John was saying, this is a community effort. And at UL Lafayette, we now have a task force, an ACE task force, to really, our mission is to recognize and respond to the impact of trauma and adversity on learning and health within the university and within the Acadiana region, including Lafayette Parish, of course. And we really are wanting to work towards creating a trauma-informed community through education, research, policy, advocacy. We would love to be able to partner with you all and think through how do we do this in the best way, how do we develop best practices, how do we really find out what's going on with our kids, how do we really work together, because these are big problems, not easily solved. No one entity can do it by themselves. I'll stop with that. Thank you.
Hi, I am Jim Mastillo, and I'm here speaking on behalf of Lafayette Parish Association of Educators. And we highly support the trauma-informed instruction. You've heard Mr. John and Dr. Xeno, they talked about what ACEs are and how they affect. So we wanted to come on and speak a little bit about what it looks like from kind of a teacher's perspective inside the classroom. So during my college years, I had several classes on classroom management. However, there wasn't a great deal of time spent on how to address students' social and emotional needs, especially when it came to dealing with adverse childhood experiences. This year, our Lafayette Parish School System has initiated a trust-based relational intervention, TBRI, into our professional development. And so throughout this year, I've actually had the opportunity to put TBRI into practice. So to give you a couple of examples, one day there was a verbal altercation that occurred in the hall that threatened to turn into a physical altercation between two students. So I offered to take one of the students into my classroom to help him calm down. I talked to the students about the emotions that he was feeling, asked him to notice how they felt in his body. We named the emotions, we walked through some quick techniques to try and regulate his physical and emotional state. TBRI, part of that, teaches us how to help our students regulate their own emotions. These are not radical strategies. I had him uncurl his tightly balled fist and stretch his fingers as far apart as he could. We did some presses on the desk and circle breathing. Within a few moments, the student had calmed down, and he was able to return to class and resume learning. Oftentimes in class, we have students that are frustrated. And through the TBRI training, we have learned that the students exhibit signs of anxiety and frustration. And learning how to recognize these signs have given us the ability to intervene and support the student before it becomes an issue or causes the student to completely shut down, which stops the learning from occurring. Creating relationships with my students by having meaningful conversations and taking time to help them understand that it is okay for them to feel the way that they do has helped tremendously. Learning how to pick and choose my battles in the classroom and recognizing that students are little humans and they're allowed to have a bad day or a bad moment. It has helped me be a better teacher. Learning how to separate myself and not become offended or take personally the words or actions of my students has helped me to be able to maintain my calm in a stressful or uncomfortable situation. Understanding that students are angry or frustrated or scared, and they may be acting out as a result of those feelings, and it has nothing to do with me personally, has been one of the biggest takeaways of TBRI. Taking the time to develop these relationships and develop the trust of my students has created a safe place for learning to occur. Another example of how TBRI has helped was just this morning we had a little boy that didn't want to get out of the car right online. So he gets out of the car and he's going on and on about how much he hates being in school. Now before TBRI, I would have wasted my breath telling him how wonderful school is and how great it is to be here. You don't really feel that way. But today I stepped back and I let him know that I heard him. I told him I understand that sometimes we just want to stay home and play with our toys and spend time with our family. I know that school is not always a fun place to be, and that sometimes following directions or doing schoolwork is not always our favorite thing. And then I just kind of stepped back and told him to take a few moments and allow himself to feel those feelings of frustration. Take some deep breaths. And whenever you're ready, we'll walk to class. I told him sometimes we have to do things that we don't want to do anyway. And it's okay to not be happy about having to do them. But we still have to do them anyway. So after about 6 minutes, he stood up and followed me to where he was supposed to go. He wasn't even one of my kids. He's just a student I see every morning when I'm doing car rider duty. And I have taken it upon myself to develop a relationship with him because I see how he has those signs of anxiety when he gets out of the car every morning. So I know his name, and because of that, I was able to support him and help him to regulate his own behavior. So through the TBRI, we're learning how to be more flexible because it's necessary for us to be flexible in our classroom, and it's needed for the success of all our students. So I'd like to take this time to thank Superintendent Trostler and Mr. Touchette and all the other members of the board for your leadership on this important issue. Our teachers are hungry for more of these changes. There's no greater joy that you can experience as a teacher than when you help a child along the path to not only becoming academically successful, but also to becoming the best person they can possibly be. So thank you for your time and considering this.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. Okay, so we're going to move to our next information item, academics, LPSS Trauma Informed Initiative. Mrs. Touchette, Dr. Rabelais, Ms. Aguirre, and Ms. Hartley.
Good evening, Superintendent Trostler and board members. My name is Sonia Hartley, and I'm one of the coordinators in student services, along with Tanya Avier. And we thank you for the opportunity to share what we're doing throughout the district to address childhood diversity. It affects about 65% of our population, and with all of the pandemic and things that have gone on, I know that's even more than that. We know that trauma affects learning. A brain that's in survival mode isn't a brain that's ready to learn. But studies show that even just one strong connecting relationship is the key to healing. Tanya and I work with the counselors across the district, and as counselors, we're counselors at heart, our main goal is to remove barriers to student success. We began in the fall of 2019 by actually Dr. Xeno came and trained all of our counselors on ACEs, on adverse childhood experiences. We followed up with several in-services around the topic of trauma. When 2020 hit and all the trauma of the pandemic and everything that followed, we knew we had to do something more to support our teachers and our students. We felt that becoming more trauma-informed as a district was part of the answer. From that, a team developed to work with us on this effort. It's made up of two counselors, Layla Touchette and Alicia Boani, a social worker, Natalie Duff, our federal programs manager, Nicholas Thomas, a teacher at Karen Crow Heights, Shannon Crumlish, and a member of our transportation staff, Vicki Docket, and Associate Superintendent, Mr. Touchette. It's our hope to create a trauma-sensitive district that promotes resilience in staff and students. Studies show that school systems, as they become more trauma-sensitive, discipline rates go down and achievement rises. From what I understand, Lafayette Parish is one of the first districts in Louisiana to train all administrators, counselors, social workers, transportation and special education departments, bus drivers, cafeteria managers, all about adverse childhood experiences. In addition, all of our teachers, many paras, secretaries, school resource officers were also introduced to ACEs and what it looks like in a student. The counselors introduced their staffs to a Tier 1 intervention called Trust-Based Relational Intervention, or TBRI, that we just heard about. We've shared videos with all the teachers and staff that show how to use these interventions in the classroom. Schools are using techniques that they've learned through these trainings and to build connections to empower each other this year. To reinforce that learning and keep the conversation going, our trauma team sends out periodic newsletters with tips on recognizing trauma and how to build those healing connections. We know this is just the beginning. We know more training is needed for our teachers and staff, and research shows the older we get, it's harder to change and prevent the long-term effects of ACEs. So as a school system, We have the students in our care when we can make real change happen. We'd love to partner with others in the community like LaPesc and UL and to offer more professional development for our teachers and to help our teachers and our students. So I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, you can answer them.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, I would like to thank you both, the presentation on ACEs as well as trauma. We really appreciate all the effort and all the hard work that you guys are doing to make sure our students are successful. Can't thank you enough. Really excited about these opportunities of working in partnership with you guys to move our district forward as well as our students. So thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to our next information item. Item 3.3, personnel changes for January. Ms. Gardner and Mr. Bouton.
Good evening to the board. Congratulations, Madam President. Good evening, Ms. Trosclair. I have the honor of introducing 3 administrators this evening. First up is Ms. Aliska Joseph. Ms. Joseph holds a bachelor's degree in kinesiology from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette with a certification in health and physical education and adapted physical education in grades K through 12. She holds a master's of educational leadership from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. She has served in various teaching positions throughout her career. Chattinger Elementary School, she was a teacher and physical education department chairperson. At Vidrine Elementary School, she was a health and physical education department chairperson. At J.H. Williams, she was the dean of students, a health and physical education teacher for grades 6 through 8, the head girls track coach, and at Paul Bro, she served as the dean of students. She will be the new assistant principal at Paul Bro, and Ms. Joseph is looking forward to continuing to dedicate herself to the highest standards of teaching and learning with the Lafayette Parish school system and exceeding all expectations for the position of assistant principal at Paul Bro. Ms. Joseph.
Good evening. It is the late Arthur Ashe that once said, "Start where you are, use the resources you have, and do what you can." I came to Lafayette Parish in 2019, mid-October, to Paul Bro Middle School as Dean of Students. In that position, I was able to enhance my skills and abilities, and now I am one of the assistant principals at Paul Bro Middle School. To Superintendent Trosclair, board members, and my principal, Ms. Rayburn, in her absence, I am thankful for this opportunity. I am excited to start where I am, to use every resource I have, and do everything I can together with my administration to empower students and faculty and staff at Paul Bro Middle School. Again, thank you and good evening.
Congratulations, Ms. Joseph.
Next up, we have Ms. Vina Swallow. Ms. Swallow holds a Bachelor's of Science in Behavioral Sciences from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette with a certification in English Language Arts grades 6 through 12 and a Master's of Education in Educational Leadership from the American College of Education. She has served as an English Language Arts teacher at Paul Bro Middle School, and she was named the Lafayette Parish School System Middle School Teacher of the Year in 2012. She has served in various other capacities. She was the behavior and academic interventionist at Paul Breaux Middle School and the data analyst at Acadian Middle School. She has served as the assistant principal at Acadian Middle School, Paul Breaux Middle School, Lafayette Renaissance Charter School, and she is the new Lafayette Online Academy administrator. She most recently served as the principal of Scott Middle School. Ms. Swallow believes that every child deserves a quality education and that education serves as the foundation for each child's future. As our society faces challenges and changes, our education model must evolve. The demand for online learning will continue to increase. She looks forward to leading the virtual learning option for the Lafayette Parish school system by developing an environment our community feels as comfortable with as any traditional campus. Ms. Venus Swallow.
Okay, good evening, Ms. Trostclair, members of the board. Thank you for having me here this evening. My philosophy is pretty simple. As a principal, it doesn't matter if I'm at Scott Middle, Paul Breaux, and now at LOA. It's to positively impact public education for our kids and our community. It's that simple to me. Like he said, the demand for virtual learning is only going to increase. We've come so far in a year. Like Ms. Trostclair said, I was still at Scott Middle whenever we went virtual 100% for those days. And I literally walked around my campus and went back to my office and said, I feel like I just witnessed history in the making. Opening classroom doors and seeing our students at Scott Middle live with teachers using Zoom. In March, we didn't know what direction we would go in. And so one of the positive things about COVID is that it opened the door for me to take interest in leading virtual learning. Having the population on Scott Middle that was enrolled in Edgenuity, it gave me an opportunity to learn the program. And so going forward, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, a lot of work to be done, but I know as a community that we will do it together. And I want to create a sense of connectedness for our families that choose virtual learning for their children. For our children that are involved in virtual learning, I believe they should be challenged just as they should in the classroom. I have 3 students enrolled in Lafayette Parish myself. And no matter what leadership role I'm in, I always think when I'm making decisions, is this decision good enough for my kid? Because if it's not good enough for anyone else's child. So I know I have a lot of work to do. I want to thank you for the opportunity. I'm humbled and I am very grateful to be able to serve our community in this capacity. Thank you.
Mr. Lachele.
Ms. Swallow, thank you so much for your time at Scott Middle. Thank you what you did. You've changed a lot of things there. You're moving that school in a positive direction. We appreciate it. We support you. You're leaving my district, but you take your board member with you. And on another note, Venus, very proud of you.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
I appreciate all of your support.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations, Ms. Swallow. Okay, we'll move on to item 3.4.
I have one more.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Took me a while to take my mask off. Our third and final administrator is Ms. Kay Victorian. Ms. Victorian holds a Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education with a certification in 1 through 8, Library Science, and Pre-K through 3rd grade from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. She holds a Master's of Education in Educational Leadership from Louisiana State University at Shreveport, Louisiana, and she completed the Louisiana Department of Education Lafayette Parish School System cohort of the National Institute of School Leadership Principal Fellowship Program. Ms. Victorian has served as a teacher at South Street Elementary, the librarian at Opelousas Senior High School, the assistant principal at Opelousas Junior High School, the principal of Questwell Elementary School, the principal of Green Tea Linden Elementary School, the Lafayette Parish School System Library Science Specialist, a Lafayette Parish Gear Up Program Supervisor, and most recently, the Vice Principal of Karen Crow Middle School. Ms. Victorian believes that the nurturing environment she provides will infuse rigor and relevance into the projects at hand, while increasing performance, promoting self-confidence, and fostering a desire to achieve without regard for social, economic, or racial background for all of her students at Scott Middle School. Ms. K. Victorian, the new principal of Scott Middle School.
Good evening. I'd like to thank all of you, Ms. Trosclair, Board President, all of the board members for this great opportunity. I'd also like to thank Ms. Vina Swallow because she has left Scott Middle School in such wonderful shape. I look forward to working with everyone there and all of you to further the educational opportunities at Scott Middle. This district, this board has done so much for our students, and I see us going in nothing but a positive direction. I think we have learned a lot through this year with COVID, and I think that we will move forward stronger and better equipped to service all children. So thank you so very much. Short and sweet. Have a good evening.
Congratulations.
Welcome to District 5, Ms. Victorian.
Next item, 3.4, facilities, monthly facilities updates. Mr. Borderlaw.
Good evening, members of the board. Kyle Bordelon, Director of Planning and Facilities. I've included the monthly construction update. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Mr. Lachele.
I think the only question I have, Kyle, it's not. I see the progression of the Scott Middle cafeteria, which I don't think will be opened this year. I think we'll be eating lunch in there at the start of next year. It's the field house at Acadiana High. Our window is closing by the day. Do you have any idea of when we're going to really get started on that process?
Mr. Lachele, we're in the process of putting together the architect selection process.
Okay.
So I'm not sure when we're bringing that to the board. Maybe Mr. Guidry might be able to help me out on that. But we'll have to get the board to approve that selection process and then go through that process to select an architect for that project.
Okay. Because we have till August of 2022 to get it built. I would like the next project to finish on time. Just about every project we've had concerning from the lights to the concession stand to the track to the press box has finished well into the season. My expectation is week 1, 2022, the Acadiana football team walks out of that field house having dressed for the first home game, and I'd like to see it actually finished on time. So as soon as we can, Mr. Guidry, as soon as we can get this process started, 20 months seems like a lot, but it's not. If not for COVID, we wouldn't have had tracks ready to go, and we would not have had a press box ready to go. We had a concession stand open in week 14. We had lights finished in the middle of the season. We had football fields almost not get finished. So I'd like to see this process started and as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Ms. LeBoux.
Thank you, Madam President. Kyle, I'd really like some type of spreadsheet with every project, with progress on it, because I'm assuming this is not the entirety of the construction projects we have ongoing, correct?
That's correct. I'm working on a spreadsheet now. It's pretty involved, but I'm working on that.
I mean, even just a basic Excel with every project listed, you know, kind of just these columns updated would really be helpful, and just a percentage of completion. And then again, have we formulated any kind of closeout process for when these projects are completed so that we can evaluate?
No, ma'am, we have not.
Or at least track how close we were to the bids and how close, you know, we were to staying with the original numbers that were.
We haven't, but we can develop that. I think we can develop that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'd like to see that because I really want to know when we got our original bid, how many times did we have to make change orders? How many times did we go over what the original bid amount was? Because I would like to keep track of, you know, just to get an idea of where we were in our original bid and how many times that we had to revise that bid. So, or make amendments there too. So yeah, if we could just get a spreadsheet, it would just help us track where we are in progress and different things. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Thank you, Mr. Bordelon. Okay, next item is item 3.5, finance, list of bids approved to be advertised by the superintendent. Do we have any comments or information on this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 3.6, budget recap and timeline 2021-2022 budget process. Mr. Guidry.
Yes, it's that time of the year where we well, we've already started the budget process, but we at least present the timeline, the preliminary timeline to our board members and to the community. We begin with our first meeting on February 23rd, where we will present all of the non-general fund budgets for the first time. These will be proposed budgets. We'll review them and bring them back at a later meeting for board votes, board action. The meeting of March 30th, we bring the group health insurance fund along with the general fund. We continue discussions on those budgets, the group insurance fund and general fund, on April 20th. April 27th, we bring all funds, proposed budgets back to the board and ask that for approval to proceed with the budget adoption process, which would begin with the public advertisement on May 4th and 5th, public inspection from the 4th to the 19th, public hearing on May 19th at 4 p.m., followed by a special board meeting to adopt at 4:30 on that same day. So this is the preliminary calendar that we're presenting to the board as an information item.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Any questions? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. I'll read the agenda items. Any items you would like pulled, you may do so. And so we'll go ahead and start with agenda item 4.1. Discussion and or action concerning Resolution 0121-1993, recognizing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday.
Pull that, please.
Okay, item 4.2, discussion and or action concerning approval of budget revision to self-funded construction fund for Como High School fencing projects. Okay. 4.3, academics, discussion and or action concerning Resolution 0121-1996. Sorry, we've done that already. So moving down to 4.5. Okay. Administration, discussion and or action concerning Resolution 0121-1994, School Board Member Recognition Month. Okay. 4.6, Employee Services, discussion and or action concerning salary schedule revision and related budget revision. Okay. 4.7, Employee Services, discussion and or action concerning the at-risk intervention teacher job description. 4.8, Employee Services, discussion and or action concerning the creation of the new construction projects director job description. 4.9, discussion and or action concerning approval of quotes for GT Linden Elementary Playground Fence replacement.
Pull that, please.
Okay. 4.9, 4.9, and that is, okay, Miss Kate. All right, 4.10, discussion and or action concerning approval of dedication of servitude for Ridge Elementary water service line. 4.11, discussion or action concerning approval of RFQ and feasibility study for Northside High School. 4.12, facilities, discussion and or action concerning approval of RFQ for feasibility study for J.W. Faulk Elementary School. Okay, that'll be item 1. 4.13, discussion or action concerning approval of budget revision to general fund and capital improvement fund for HVAC maintenance contracts. Item 4.14, discussion and or action concerning the sales tax collection report for November 2020. 4.15, discussion or action concerning the grant fund summary for December 2020. 4.16, discussion or action concerning budget to actual report for December 2020. 4.17, discussion or action concerning approval of bid award graphing calculators for Gear Up bid 28-21. 4.18, discussion or action concerning the 2020-2021 second quarter budget revision for applicable funds. 4.19, discussion and or action concerning policy DJE purchasing. 4.20, risk management, discussion or action concerning policy FDFAB, sports injury management and concussions. Item 4.21, risk management, discussion and or action concerning policy JDC, student health services. 4.22, risk management, discussion and or action concerning policy JGCE, child abuse. 4.23, risk management, discussion or action concerning policy GBDA, employment of retirement personnel. 4.24, risk management, discussion and or action concerning policy EFD, data protection and recovery. 4.25, risk management, discussion and or action concerning policy JBH, attendance reports for student drivers. Item 4.26, discussion or action concerning policy CBD, appointment of superintendent. Item 4.27, risk management, discussion and or action concerning policy DJED, bids and quotations. 4.28, discussion and or action concerning the minutes of December 2nd, 2020. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve all items not pulled.
Madam President, I move that we approve all items not pulled.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Santani. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
And I have a second by Ms. Mason. Any comments from the public? Any comments from our board members? I'll call for the vote.
8 for, none against.
Motion approved. So we'll move on to the items that were pulled. First item is item 4.1, discussion and or action concerning resolution 01211993, recognizing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Mr. Broussard.
Madam President, motion to approve and to read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Broussard and a second by Mr. Centeni. Any comments from the public? Any comments from board members? Mr. Bruce?
Are we going to read the resolution?
Mr. Broussard, you would like to read the resolution?
Yes. To recognize Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday and to celebrate his contribution to our nation. Whereas contribution of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. have had a significant impact on the civil rights movement of the United States. And whereas all the people of all creeds, colors, ethnic background, and social economic levels can benefit from the principles that Dr. King preached. And whereas in this time of increasing violence, Dr. King's emphasis on nonviolence and calls for peace are even more poignant. And whereas in this time when many are again attempting to focus on ethnicity and race as primary consideration, the message of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that people should not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, and can and should provide enlightened guidance. And whereas in this time when so many seem determined to tear apart the fabric of our society, Dr. King's plea for all Americans to transcend the things which separate and divide us so that we may reach that spiritual plateau where we can celebrate our common humanity assumes an even greater urgency. And whereas in this time when so many choose to criticize and belittle this country, Dr. King's reference to America and the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence as positive ideas devoutly to be embraced and good ideas enthusiastically to be pursued can and should provide refreshing insight into the wonder and glory of our nation. Now therefore be it resolved that the Lafayette Parish School Board does hereby support January 18, 2021, the national holiday honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and directs our administration and teachers to remember this famous American through appropriate classroom and school activities which focus upon his dream in unity and brotherhood of all Americans, certified by the Secretary-Treasurer of Lafayette on this day, Ms. Arma Trostclair.
Thank you, Mr. Broussard. Do you have any?
Yes, if I may use the mic privilege and say congratulations on the presidency. When it's reading this, when I first got it through there, I'm reminded, or I ask myself, how far have we moved the needle over the 50 plus years? Being a product of the civil rights movement and a product of segregation times, we must ask ourselves if we are fulfilling that dream. Given the uppress that has been going on, our division for the last couple of years, we've got to ask ourselves if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. It is taboo to speak of race and racism by saying that we cannot solve the problem. The problem needs to be discussed. We can find ways to do whatever we want to do. We cannot discuss the issue on race and racism because it's unsettling to some. After this reading of tonight, then we're going to go into the 28 days of I Had a Dream speech and the famous bus ride. That's all we know about Black history. I would ask this administration to be a first. Start doing the research to teach a Black history program in our schools. We can find a way to teach French, Spanish, Chinese. We leave the Cajun culture, we live in Acadiana. know nothing about black history. I'm sorry for going out on a ramp like this, but it's black history need to be taught in our schools. Research shows that if black history is taught, if any history of any college is taught, there's a 7% chance that you go to college, 70% greater. There's a 10% more chance that you attend the university. We heard tonight of everybody's idea on the challenges for at-risk children, whether you be black or white. They didn't specify any color. We are not doing justice to my children and all 30-some thousand, because history is important in everybody's walk of life. So let's put aside that we cannot do this because it's not credible. It wasn't credible to teach French. It wasn't credible to teach Spanish. It wasn't credible to teach Chinese. Find a way. And I'm going to stay on that subject until we find a way. Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and vote on this motion at this time.
Eight for, none against.
Motion passed. So we'll move on to our next item pulled, which is item 4.9, discussion and or action concerning approval of quotes for GT Linden Elementary playground fence replacement. Ms. Mason?
I want to make a motion to defer this item.
We have a motion to defer from Ms. Mason and second from Mr. Broussard. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? Dr. Shaston?
Yes, ma'am. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out to everyone that whenever it comes to this item, I know we're deferring it. I'm glad we're deferring it, but in addition to deferring, I'm going to remind everyone every single chance I get that for this particular item, well, before I give the reminder, let me ask 2 or 3 quick questions. I know we're deferring, but it has to do with the actual item being deferred anyway. How much land was donated for this? Just really quickly. How long is the stretch? I'm just trying to get an idea. I just want to make a quick point to everyone so they can go home with that. So when it comes back up, they can at least ponder on this while they're waiting for the item to come back up.
And can I ask, I'm sorry, that when you're talking about the length, can you also talk about the height and the, what was bid out exactly, if you don't mind?
The land that was given as a servitude, I think, was in the neighborhood of 950 to 1,000 feet by approximately 6 foot wide. So the length of fencing is somewhere in that neighborhood of 950 to 1,000 feet of fencing. And the proposal we received was to change from a 5 foot tall chain link fence to a 6 foot tall chain link fence.
Okay. All right. This was asked and requested of us, right? The city of Youngsville asked for the land. We didn't just...
Correct. They asked for it.
All right. So as we're deferring it, guys, I just want everyone to keep in mind that we were specifically asked and the land was requested of us. We took up the matter, we considered it. It's 1,000 feet or so of land, 6 feet wide, and we decided to discuss giving this land to Youngsville. I want to remind everybody that the night that, I think it was the chief and the mayor came, that night we were told off, we were scolded like we were kids, and they criticized us and the way we do business. And we were giving them land as a reminder to everybody. So I want y'all to remember this. We're giving them land, and we're paying for the fence, and that doesn't make any sense to me. So as a gentle reminder, told off, scolded, criticized, they asked us for the land, we considered it, we seem to be giving it, and we're paying for the fence. So somebody's got to help me out with this one. So when somebody asks me for something and I give it to them, they don't consider asking me more to pay for something. So if I give you a car, that's your car. Congratulations. Hey, Tim, by the way, can you pay for the repairs? Can you pay for them for us to fix it? And I thought $10,000 at the time. First, I didn't want to give the land, but $10,000 at the time was very, very, very low. And the notion that we're giving something and paying for the fence doesn't make any sense to me. And I want to use another word, but I'm not going to use it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So thank you for the time of speaking on this matter. I'm going to repeat the exact same thing whenever it comes up. To give land and we are paying for the fence makes no sense. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, any other comments? All right, we'll go ahead and vote on the motion on the floor.
Six for, 2 against.
Okay, motion carries. So our next item pull is item 4.12, discussion and or action concerning approval of RFQ for a feasibility study for J.W. Faulk Elementary School. And that was Mr. Broussard.
Yes, Madam President, I move to pull that to include with the feasibility study to include Truman Elementary School as well. So if we can amend that to include Truman Elementary School, motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to add Truman Elementary School. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Ms. Mason. Any public comments? Any board comments? Ms. LeBeau?
I just have a question in terms of, is it gonna complicate things to add a second school to this? Should we just go ahead and create a feasibility study request for them separately? I just want to make sure we're not muddying the waters by adding 2 schools together.
Mr. Santani?
I'd say point of order that this needs to be an item for next month's agenda, that it was not properly advertised. Mr. Broussard, I believe that what you're looking to do is duplicate this document, And substitute J.W. Faulk for Truman, right? Or Truman for J.W. Faulk,
Yes.
right? Yeah. That would be my suggestion, is that we
Yeah,
just
then
handle it next month.
Then if that's the case, I would withdraw my motion and actually be placed on next month's agenda.
So the motion on the floor is to defer to next month's agenda?
No, the motion on the floor to approve
Oh, okay.
as the agenda item.
Okay. The motion on the floor is to approve as is, and that motion was by Mr. Broussard and seconded by Ms. Mason. Again,
Can you make the motion? Read it.
okay. Okay, so the motion that's on the floor is discussion and/or action concerning approval of RFQ for
Hold on.
feasibility.
That's not it.
Oh, it's not on my, it's not a, where is it? Oh, okay, gotcha. I got you. I'm sorry. Okay, the recommended action is that the board approves Resolution 0121-1996 declaring January 8, no? Okay, recommended action that the board approve the request for qualification RFQ document for the feasibility study for J.W. Faulk Elementary School. Okay. Now we come. Okay.
We need a
Any
second.
comments from the public? Any comments from the board?
One clarification or one question.
Okay, Ms.
just to be-
LeBeau?
You're saying this one was properly advertised, but if we added Truman, it would not have been proper. Okay, I just want to make sure this one was properly advertised. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dr. Chasson?
When would it come back, Kyle? February? So we'll have the results of the RFQ, but not the actual feasibility study. No, J.W. Faulk. Yeah.
I can't.
It's okay.
It would probably be March at best.
March.
Possibly even April, because just the advertising period.
Okay,
And
right.
then the evaluation, so
Then
it
evaluation.
may be.
So we'll
like
get the
April.
results of the RFQ, but we won't get the feasibility study until when, you guys think? Just curious. 6 months?
Oh, the study itself?
The study itself.
Mr. Bordelon?
3 to 4 months?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Okay, any other comments? Mr. Broussard?
Some years ago, Dr. Shashon, Dr. Aguilar, that study was done for the schools. Do we have any records of, we were supposed to build a J.W. Faulk someplace else, we're supposed to build a Truman someplace else? Mr. Bordelon, do we have any of those records from the recommendation we had for just a question? I mean, we went through all of this before, and I think every school that was above the age of X amount of years, we had some study with it. Truman, J.W. Faulk was 2 of them that I remembered.
Are you referring to the master plan study that was done by
Yes.
CSRS?
Yes.
Okay. I don't remember exactly which schools it could have been. There were 7 schools that CSRS recommended for replacement. 7 of our existing schools. I don't remember exactly which schools they were, but there were 7 recommended for replacement. But that's where they stopped. Based on the facility condition index of those schools, and based on input from the board as to the value of the school versus the cost of replacement, or the cost of renovations versus the cost of replacing the school, the board made a decision to set it at a certain percentage, and any school that had a percentage of facility condition index above a certain percentage was recommended for replacement. So that's how that came about. But as far as locations or anything beyond that, the study didn't go any further.
Any additional board comments before we call for the vote? Okay, by seeing none, we'll go ahead and call for a vote.
Eight for, none against.
Okay, motion passed. Do we have any additional comments from anyone? Okay, that was the last agenda item. So if we don't have any additional comments or business, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting.